Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most tangled and frankly disturbing stories of our time, the case of Jeffrey Epstein. We're going to unpack who he was, the horrific crimes he committed, and exactly why his story just won't go away, haunting some of the most powerful people on the planet. So let's just jump right in, starting at the end, because the end is really the beginning of this huge mystery, the one that launched 1,000 conspiracy theories and made one particular phrase an internet sensation. All right, picture this. August 10th, 2019. Jeffrey Epstein is about to stand trial for federal sex trafficking, but he's found dead in his cell in what's supposed to be one of New York's most secure jails. It was an ending that really nobody saw coming. Now, officially, the cause of death was ruled a suicide, but the circumstances, well, they were so suspicious they fueled a global firestorm. For starters, the jail's cameras just happened to be malfunctioning. The guards on duty had somehow fallen asleep, and maybe most unbelievable of all, Epstein had just recently been taken off suicide watch. These aren't just small oversights, they are colossal failures that made a lot of people think this was anything but a simple suicide. And this is where that phrase came from. The public basically cried foul. The belief that he was silenced to protect all the secrets he knew became this massive global phenomenon. It was a meme, sure, but it captured a really deep public distrust. So who was this guy, really? And what secrets did he take to the grave?
To really get how we got here, we have to rewind. We've got to understand who Jeffrey Epstein was and the shadowy world he built for himself piece by piece.
His story starts pretty humbly, believe it or not. Back in the 1970s, he was just a math teacher at a fancy private school, but he was incredibly ambitious. And that ambition took him straight out of the classroom and into the cutthroat world of Wall Street. He had this incredible talent for getting close to the ultra-rich, managing money for people like Leslie Wexner, the guy behind Victoria's Secret. And through that, he built his own insane fortune. We're talking a Manhattan mansion, a huge ranch in New Mexico, and the real crown jewel of his empire, his own private island. Yep, a private island. It was called Little St. James, and it was basically his personal kingdom. The only way to get there was on his private jet, a plane that became so infamous for allegedly flying underage girls there, it got the nickname the Lolita Express. And this island really had two faces. On the surface, it was a paradise where the global elite came to party. But underneath it all, it was allegedly the nerve center of a criminal enterprise. Investigators found all sorts of strange stuff, a weird temple-like building, suspected underground tunnels, and a whole network of cameras everywhere. And that raises a really chilling question. Were those cameras for security or for blackmail? See, Epstein didn't just have money. His real power, his greatest asset, was his network. He surrounded himself with some of the most powerful and influential people on the entire planet. I mean, his social circle was a who's who of power. Former presidents, tech billionaires, Hollywood celebrities, even royalty. The flight logs from his jet showed that President Bill Clinton flew on it 26 times. Donald Trump was a friend of his back in the 90s. But there was one connection that would turn out to be incredibly toxic. And that was his friendship with Britain's Prince Andrew. This created a massive, catastrophic scandal for the monarchy. A victim, Virginia Giuffre, accused the prince of abusing her when she was only 17. The fallout from that was just immense. He was forced to step down from all his royal duties and pay a multi-million-dollar settlement. I mean, what a stunning fall from grace for a senior royal. So all of this begs the question, right? How did he keep all these powerful people so close? Well, it led to this pervasive theory that his network wasn't built on friendship at all. It was built on blackmail. When the FBI raided his home, they found hidden cameras, photos, and CDs. It really looked like Epstein might have been collecting dirt on his powerful guests, just to make sure they stayed silent and complicit. For years, it seemed like the legal system was protecting Epstein more than it was protecting his victims. But those victims, led by some incredibly brave women, just refused to be silenced. They never, ever gave up their fight for justice. This timeline really shows you what a long, hard road it was to get any kind of accountability. It's a story of a system that failed, that was then exposed by some really tough journalism, and was finally forced to act. It all started with one victim, Courtney Wild, back in 2005. But the real moment of injustice, the one that stands out, was in 2008, with that secret, sweetheart plea deal that let Epstein completely dodge serious federal charges. And after that first conviction, This is how much time he actually served of an 18-month sentence, just 13 months. And it gets worse. He was given work release, which meant he could leave the jail for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. It was a sentence that many people just called a total mockery of justice. Of course, Epstein wasn't doing this alone. His closest partner in crime was Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, he was the face of the whole operation, but prosecutors argued that Maxwell was the engine. As the daughter of a British media mogul, she allegedly used her high society status to lure vulnerable young girls right into Epstein's web. And in 2022, Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison for her role in the whole scheme. Now that is a stark contrast to Epstein's initial 13 months, right? It was a sentence that finally, after so long, brought some real measure of accountability. So Epstein is gone, Maxwell is in prison. But his death wasn't the end of the story, not by a long shot. In a lot of ways, it was just the beginning of the revelations, because the focus then shifted to all the secrets locked away in his files. And these documents, we're talking court filings, flight logs, all of it, are what people now call the Epstein Files. They are a treasure trove of information, filled with the names of powerful people connected to him. And they're really at the heart of all the ongoing fallout from this case. In the last few years, there's been this immense pressure from the public and from the courts to start unsealing these documents. And that push for transparency has led to thousands and thousands of pages being released, showing us just how big his network really was and who was in it. But here's the number that's truly staggering. This is the estimated number of pages related to the Epstein case that are still sealed, still hidden from the public. Over 1 million pages of secrets just sitting there, waiting to be uncovered. And that, really, is the ultimate takeaway from this whole saga. This story started with the voice of one brave victim, and it shows us that while money and power, they can delay justice, they can obscure the truth, they can't make it disappear forever. So the real question that's left is not if more secrets are going to come out, but when.